Hello. 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 Hey guys. Welcome to Monday Night Coding. I know there's a lot happening in the world, so I was hoping that today would help break a little bit away from that. Sorry for all the ums. So today we're going to work on notification as we have for the past couple weeks. This is going to be fun. So what we're going to actually work on is getting rid of that blue text in the notification. So let's actually, I think I just went mute. So one sec. All right. So let's actually do that. Cool. Let's switch over. All right. So in notification, what we're going to do is we're going to run it first to see where we are. And of course, the device I'm going to work with is not powering right now, so we'll actually work off this guy. Cool. So let's get this going. So I'm going to transition so we can see the iPhone in the bottom left corner, and then also, be able to see everything. So let's also go into light mode. All right. So what we're going to get rid of is that blue where it says this is my note. So let's do that. All right. So to do that, we need to go to notification card. All right. Now in here, where it says text, that is what we're reading. So that actually needs to have a foreground color. And we'll do a color dot black, which won't really work because dark mode versus light mode. Yay. So the reason why color dot black will not work is because in dark mode it would still be dark. So let's run it real quick and see what happens. You guys can take a look at the main screen of my home screen while that's happening. Oh, sorry. I see I have 2 viewers, so howdy to you guys out there. Let's see. So now that it's built, so we can see that made it black, but when I go into dark mode now, it's going to not look as good, because whenever you're in dark mode, a notification on your screen is actually light. So, and then in light mode, a notification on your screen is going to be black. So we actually have to get that changing there like it is. So to do that, we are going to say I'm pretty sure there's a label. There is something in SwiftUI that will give that to me. Let's figure out what it is. So let's switch. Okay. Awesome. SwiftUI label color. Let me decrease that a little bit. Oh, that's off. Loop. Here we go. Okay, so that is a bit better. So let's see, SwiftUI label. Let's just do .primary and see what happens. Let's read about it a little bit first to make sure this is what I want. There are common colors as expected, primary, secondary. This is basically what I want to edit, but where do I go to edit them? So I want to do this as close to what Apple really expects from developers, which is why I'm kind of going through all of this to figure out where it's supposed to be. And once I figure all of this out, then I can actually implement this a bit more in my other app. Hi, Hot Death. Sup with you? Just building this app. Cool. So in here, let's see. Dark mode colors, great. Yeah, because what we want. Apparently my webcam is really off with my mic. I bet that's due to my computer usage. Let's see if we can. So is that a little bit better where it's synced a bit more? Is my camera slower or faster than my webcam? Is that better? A bit better now? Mic zoom and camera slow. Okay, cool. That's better. Awesome. Let's get into Safari. Safari's a little bit easier on my resources, so I'm going to do that to get back to where I was. Cool. Thanks for letting me know about that. I'm still working on all of this. Okay, but where do I put it? No, I'm not on a virtual machine, but I am maxing out my, I am getting really close to maxing out my MacBook Pro's CPU, usually whenever I'm doing a lot of this. I don't redefine. Okay, so let's see if I can actually go into Xcode now. Magnet is great until it decides to play a fool. So actually, I believe if I go into assets, I should be able to go in here and say what I want. And I want it to be a color asset. Name. Card text color. Any light and dark. That's fine. So what this will allow me to do is in light, I can actually say it's a dark color. And then in dark, it's going to stay a light color. And then in any appearance, we're going to give it that dark color. Cool. So whether it's on in light and dark doesn't matter. It's just going to default to the black. In the light appearance, it'll be black, just like normal notifications. And then dark appearance, it'll be light, just like normal notifications. So let's actually go and implement that. Our font color equals color, UI color, named. So what I'm doing here is assigning this font color to the variable of the name of the color I just created in the color assets. So inside color assets, I can say the card, what do I call it? The card font color, I think. Card text color. It might look a little weird because what I'm doing is my monitor is not the right resolution, and so it's too big of a resolution whenever I stream. So I'm kind of working off my big monitor, but I'm streaming off the built-in monitor of the MacBook. That way it gets a little bit of bigger text so that we can see exactly what's happening there. Cool. So card text color. And because it's an optional, we're going to go ahead and force it out. And instead of dot foreground color is going to be the font color. Cool. And so now if I run that, Then we'll see it down here. Here it is in with the black text, and I can make that a bit bigger so it's a bit easier to see. Now, if I go in here and I turn on dark mode, we will see it change and we get our light color, which is just like the notification here. In dark mode, we get the light color on the text, and in light mode, we get the dark color, and it automatically changes. Something else that changes, I don't know if you can really tell, is the add note gets slightly brighter. Now that's just a given based with SwiftUI because I'm using the default styling, so that add note's a little bit brighter than whenever it's inside the light mode, which is a tad bit darker. Again, that's just a given by SwiftUI itself. Cool. So now we are going to go back and keep going. So that changed the blue there. So I noticed last time I was having a little bit issues with navigation. So what I'm going to do is test that out now. The difference is between what I was doing last time is I was on an iPad, this time on my phone. So we're going to see if we can actually get between them, and we can. So that's odd that it happened on, and it's letting me go between with no big deal. Notifies on, off, on, off. Okay, so it's actually not going between them. So I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see what's happening between the two. So I have, here's another note. Great, I turn it off. I go back, and now it says this is my, no, I know what's happening. Here's another note because it's sorted by last modified. So it just gets the top one up there. That makes sense. I feel like I need icons inside here, inside the card that signify whether it's been toggled on or off. And then I also need to make the date a bit better. So, and so let's go ahead and work on the detail a bit more here so we can make the date a bit more human readable. And then this is my note to be aligned with the note detail. So let's go into note detail because that's where this is. And in here we can say dot. So we can add in, I believe I just add a padding on the leading side. It will add it. It'll fix it. And it did. Now it's note detail, and this is my note is aligned. So that's good. That makes it just look a little bit more clean. So now we need to add in that date last modified section. Just change that date so it's a more readable string. Whenever I do these things, I like to make a new group so that I can have like a helper. And then inside the helper is where I actually add in the Swift file that's going to have my extension for the date. The reason why I like doing that is because then it's just a central location for the extensions. Date extensions. So it's just a file, a Swift file that lets me do a date extension. So we can actually say, how do I, class date, oh, sorry, extension date, func, to readable string. And let's see. So I've done this once. I want to go look it up to make sure that I'm doing it right. I know it's great. It's lovely whenever you watch me actually just go and look stuff up. Cool. So we're going to go into Hog OSC. And then under here, you'll actually see how inside another folder, I have my helpers class. And then inside my helpers class, I actually have just a bunch of different files here. And this one, I decided to just make one giant extension folder. So we have our date format, return date as string. So that's just an extension, and that's exactly what I wanted. That's easy. So how that works is, and it's going to return a string. So we're going to say that there's a date is a string, and we're going to return date. So now we need to do a date formatter. Cool. And then we're going to say date formatter dot date formatter format. And then you basically give it the how you want the date to read. I've started liking the year, month, day format for a lot of dates. It just makes it a little bit easier. It keeps everything, especially if you use it for files, it keeps it organized that way. And then you can say what you're going to return using the self. Because we're adding an extension, so the code knows that self is referring to the date. So we're going to do date formatter dot date. And we can just give it an assignment. Here we go. We don't actually need this part. So we're going to say equals year, year, year. That way we get the full 4 digits for the year, and then a month, and then a day. And that MMM is actually should give us the month name. Let date formatter equals date formatter date y. Did I write? Nope. Oh, because I didn't lowercase correctly. Capitalization will always kill me. Date equals date formatter dot date from dot string, sorry, from self. All right, so what we just did, to rewind what I just said, we declared a variable for date that we're going to assign later. Then we made a date formatter. We use this date formatter to actually declare the format that we want the date string to be. And then we assign date that string, that day that falls in there. Then we actually return that date. So now inside note detail, instead of just saying date.toString or where'd it go? Date.modify date.description, we can actually say to readable string. And I'm going to run that real quick so that you can actually see the difference before I call it done, before I change the other one. It's building right now. By using a separate device, it actually allows my builds to be a smidgen faster while doing this, which is why I've started doing it on something else. So here's my note. And so we can see the difference where it's 2020-March-23 for the date last modified. And then the date added is this really long string. So like I said, what we did was we basically made this string, especially where it says date added, it's a lot more readable versus the date last the date last modified is a lot more readable than the date added. So you can actually tell when you can actually see what the date is just straight off the bat. It's pretty similar. I mean, it goes from 2020-03-23 to 2020-March 23, but that's okay. So let's go back to actually finishing that off. In the date added, we're going to, again, change that to readable string. Cool. So that's the first thing. So that fixed that. Why? Apparently did not fix that. Oh. There we go. Okay, so I must have just added in a character while it was building. Great. So now that that text is done, then we're going to go back to the main screen, and we're going to actually add in some more text here for date added and date last modified, and if it's been notified or not. So let's go back to card. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this editor here. And we're going to keep doing this. So right now it's just an H stack. So that inside the text, which is why it's able to be like in there in the middle, and then it's spacer to be the left. Which is great and all. Actually, we're going to keep that VStack, and we're going to add in a VStack that's going to give us the modified. We're going to have a text for the modified. And then we're going to have a text. No, we don't need a text. I don't really care when it's added. I just care when it's last been modified. And we're going to give it alignment of dot trailing. That way it's aligned to the right versus the left. That way it's furthest away from the text, from the note text itself. So now it's going to say, actually we're going to keep it as modded. Why not? Have a little bit of fun with it and shorten it up. Modded, and then we're going to, sorry, I just completely blanked how to add into a string. So whenever you want to add into a string in Swift, you do the backslash and then the parentheses. This is how you kind of like escape it. And now we're going to say in here, we're going to do note dot modify date dot to readable string. And we can actually make this a subheadline. Dot font dot. That way it's a little bit smaller. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. So we can actually see in here that so in here we can actually see that we have the modified date, and it's a little bit smaller than than the other one. And then we have the, so yeah, we have the modified date, which actually needs a little bit of padding on the right, which is fine. We'll fix that. Cool. Let's do that real quick. Dot padding. And let's actually change our font color out here at the end of the H stack, because we want all the font to be the same color. So if by just doing it here where it was before, it was only affecting that text, which is why the modded date is actually blue and makes it look like it's a little bit more actionable than it actually is. I have another viewer now, so welcome. Hi. Just working on notification. You can see the GitHub link in the chat if you wanted to get a little bit of an idea of what's actually being added. Cool. So modded's been added. So the next thing we're going to do is actually add that notification option there. What would kind of be fun is if that notification was a button where it had the icon with the bell or the not bell. So actually in symbols, so we can do this with San Francisco symbols, SF symbols. Let me get this over here so you can see what I'm looking at. Cool. So in here we can find the, I think we can search. I think it's labeled bell. Haha. All right. So if notified is, if it's so cool. So if notifications are turned on for it, that's going to be bell with the open outline. And if it's turned off, then it's going to be bell with the slash and full. So let's actually do that. So we're going to add in this button right below. Action. Again, you have to assign a button an action no matter what. So I'm just going to add toggle notification. And then we're going to say text. Actually, we're not going to say text. We're going to say image. And in the image, we can put system name, and that system name is going to be bell. Should have known that. Cool, and let's just build that real quick so we know it works. And then I'll add in that is notified. Cool. So you can actually see there's the little bell. We're going to move that padding actually to the end of the V stack. Again, that way we just get that full padding, rather than having to apply it multiple times, we can just apply it that once. Cool. And so there it is. Now we can say in here, note dot is notified. So yes, if it's notified. If not, we're gonna do another system name. bell.slash.fill. Cool. So that is a ternary operator, and I kind of done this before in the other views where it's so basically how the ternary works is when you say note.isNotified, this is the variable that you want to check. So it's always going to be a Boolean there. So either true or false. So once it's so if it's true, then it executes the first option. In our case, it says return this image system name bell, which is returning that SF symbol of the bell. Then if it's false, so if we have notification turned off, then we return that bell/.fill. So when I toggle, here's another note, you'll see, so if it's turned on, here's another note, you can see that the bell is right. Then if it's turned off, you can see that it didn't update correctly. So that's fun. Great. Cool. So that's another thing that I'll fix, is that it's not actually toggling correctly. Like, yes, it's stored correctly inside the detail, but itself is not actually changing the icon that I expected it to, which is great. Well, because no, that is. Okay, so let's see if we can get it to change. Probably because when you go back, it's not actually checking it again. Okay, so let's figure out how I can get that to change. Cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and collapse these for now. That way it's just a little bit less to deal with. On. Let's go back to actually content view real quick. Okay, so in here, oh, why do I have two? Oh, I don't actually have two. Okay, great. So we're passing in the note, but it's not actually being triggered. So what I want to do here is card. So why isn't it actually changing? So I'm trying to figure out why it's not actually changing. Because the toggle changes when we go back. Because it changes the date based on the date. Because the sort descriptor is saying, hey, change in your date. So we obviously know that the date is changing, but the icon's not changing. You know what? And it should change when we say, go in here, archive changes, green. It's still green, so that works. This is my note. It's not doing it. So let's actually go into... I bet this is something with it. So let's do that. Let's go into card. Let's actually say, let's make these a private state. Sorry, we're going to make these a state variable so that they can change. So at state private. And we're going to keep them private so that they're not accessed outside of this one file. At state private var is archived. Boolean. Because it's a capital B. Oh, and that is outside the view. Whoops. Cool. So now that is checking that when we come back. And then let's actually do, instead of note.isNotified, we'll just say is notified. All right, so basically what I changed it to, let's make sure it works and then I'll explain what I did. Card.type is not, oh, because I didn't give it a, so if you don't give these a default value, you then have to declare a value when you have to declare a value when you call it. So I don't really want to do that. I'll just give it a default type, a default value for it to follow. Oh. Okay, so now if I go back, I turn it on. Haha, it worked. Off. On. Great. So that works. Awesome. So that's what I needed. Because I'm not really showing if it's archived or not, I can actually get rid of this variable and just save two lines of codes. Ooh, talking is hard today. Cool. So that's going to be it for the day. Thank you guys for coming here and watching. We're at 45 minutes and I think we're at a good stopping point right now. Next week, we are going to tackle, let me write this down as I say it so that I can put it out next week also. Next week, we will tackle actually getting the notification to appear, which is going to be fun. Because I've never done that. I'm going to do a bit of research before next week though. That way, there's not as much searching. Then we're going to, so next week, yeah, notifications. That's going to be the main thing. Yay. That's probably going to take the entire time, which is going to be great. Yeah. I'm just going to commit to doing notifications tomorrow. Cool. So thanks for watching, guys. You can see that I have a Patreon down here, right next to me. This Patreon is to support me, but this month, all the proceeds that I make from the Patreon will actually be given to the Behind the Scenes charity to help entertainment technology professionals who have had their gigs canceled or will be or have been affected by COVID-19. Behind the Scenes is an awesome charity that gives to the people who are behind the scenes at Broadway, broadcasts, all those type of things, theaters, movies. Basically, if you're in the entertainment industry and you're and you work with the tech, they do help you. So I definitely suggest either giving straight to them or donate to me, and this month that's where it's going to go. So again, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, keep washing your hands, stay inside also. You don't want to go outside right now. So yeah, thanks for watching.